Hello and welcome to MINYIP, your fantasy sports community. I'm your host, Blake, coach of Youngies Yaks, and I'm joined by Clinton.
I'm coach of Dash's Dogs, Blake, and yes, just another week gone, round three. There's a few random scores and a few low premium scores, which were the difference.
Yeah, I think this just brought everyone back to how Supercoach should be played. With premiums don't score 140 every week, and your rookies aren't scoring 100 every round, Clinton. So I think this just brings the Supercoach community back to level peggings of how Supercoach usually is. So this is our round 3 recap and round 4 preview show. So welcome wherever you're listening or watching the show today, whether it be on Apple or Spotify podcast. Make sure you leave a review on there or leave a comment on our YouTube and subscribe to our channel on there, Clinton. So yeah, we're recapping Supercoach. We're both going quite well. If this is the first time you're watching us, make sure you check out our Patreon page as well, which is on your screen now and in your show notes for your podcast listeners there, Clinton. So that's the MINYIP Fantasy Sports Community Patreon page where you can engage in our community, join our group chats through Discord, and just overall engage in the show and support what we're trying to do. Ultimately, we're trying to create a community that talks about Supercoach, and we appreciate everyone who's been joining in the group chats on the Discord.
Well said, Blake. Well said. Carry on.
Thought we hadn't spoken for a while, so I'd come up for air. So we're going quite well in Supercoach. After round 3, I scored 2,235, and I've moved up the rankings about another 10,000 positions to be 15,177. Very happy with how my team performed. Ultimately got my captain better than yours, Clinton, which I think was the difference. We were playing each other in a head-to-head in a league game, and I think the captaincy choice was the differential there. How'd you score in the end?
I scored 2,179. As you just mentioned, I think everyone has relatively similar teams at this point. Everyone has similar rookies. It's just the couple of premiums differently at the moment, and that takes me to a season rank of 11,271. Feel like my team is in a good spot, and I think I'm likely to hold trades for the short term. And there's a few tempting players, but I think I'm in a good spot. So we'll see how what happens in the next few days. COVID's still running rampant around different teams, so we'll see if we can get away with that.
Yeah, what was your trades from round 3 there, Clinton?
I used a trade boost.
So you made the 3 trades, yeah.
I traded out McGovern, Whitfield, and Elijah Hollins, and I brought in Cripps, Bowie, and Petrarca. So that takes me to 4 trades used for the season. I was really happy with those trades. Didn't quite pan out with Petrarca. I was a bit disappointed watching the first quarter with his heavy strapping on his knee, and it wasn't ideal, but he still punched out an okay score. But I think he's if he can get back to his best, I'm happy with the trade. Just could be one I regret in a month's time, because I did obviously have a lot of spare cash in the bank. I thought I'd get him in while I could, but I'm hoping he repays the faith this week.
Yeah, obviously McGovern was out and Hollins hasn't been playing, so you've got a return on your scoring there. It's better than having donuts play. I also traded out McGovern, so I also used my trade boost. So that was the only 3 trades I've made for the season. I got rid of McGovern. Just got to try and remember now. McGovern, Hoff for West Coast, and also Baldwin for Essendon. And I brought in Hayes because I hadn't had Hayes yet. Rochelle for the extra cash generation, and bit of a differential one, which we didn't talk about last week, Clinton. I brought in Jai Caldwell. I thought he would play extra midfield time with Merritt being out, and he had a negative break even. So, yep, pretty happy with how they worked out, except for Hayes only scored 57, and I doubt his long-term durability in that side with Ryder and Marshall. Yeah, I'm not too sure how that's going to work in the future upcoming weeks, but we'll discuss that throughout the show. Caldwell scored 81, so hopefully keep scoring at least that and above.
I think the Hayes pick was definitely needed to happen, and yeah, the Caldwell pick maybe. Yeah, we'll see what the next 2 to 3 weeks brings, but yeah, you want to be getting 100s for you, I think. So risky pick. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, Hayes going up by 85k already. Caldwell, he went up 46 and he's priced at 313k now. So yeah, I'd want him to be scoring at least 90 to 100 probably. We'll go into our social media questions, Clinton. So we had a question come through our Discord chat, and that was from Az. His question was thoughts on going Gawn to English and then moving English into the forward line for Bruce next round after he's only played one game, so he'll go up in his third game. Thoughts on that, Clinton?
It's an interesting one. If you had Max Gawn from the start, and then he's back to somewhat his best on the weekend just gone. I've been a roller coaster with Tim English in terms of wanting him and then thinking it's not. Everyone's team's different. So personally speaking, if I had Max Gawn, I'll keep him still. I wouldn't trade him out. Everyone has very divided opinions about that, but I do think English is a good pick. He will be a good pick for your forward line. There's still an element of doubt about when Steph Martin comes back in, what that will do, but obviously he got COVID last week. Bruce is obviously a good pick, but that doesn't need to happen this week. So, in short, I'd say wait, because there's a lot of other picks similar to English that we want, but is now the right time, and is now the right time to downgrade Gawn? I don't think so. What do you think?
Just, I personally don't like it. I'm sticking with the strategy of holding on to my premiums throughout the whole season. So personally, I would be if I don't have Gawn, but I would be holding him through the whole entire season, holding on to that trade. You've only got 35 trades to use for the whole season, and for me, I wouldn't be trading it to. Well, by the looks of it, he's going to move to Bruce in 2 rounds, going down to Bruce, and then if Bruce gets injured, you'll have to find a replacement. It's just too risky for me. But yeah, it's all about having those differential players. And if you enjoy watching English or Bruce and you think you can support them, go for it. I'm not going to knock anyone for doing it. It's a bold play, and you could use your cash elsewhere. So yeah, as I didn't really help you there. I've sat on the fence.
We just mentioned there's a lot of teams very similar. So these are the types of moves that on paper may not be ideal, but you got to stray away from the pack sometimes to really try and win it. So maybe holding Gawn is the wrong play because we paid up for him at the start. He played okay, but he still only scored 117. If he does that for the next month, and there's players like Bruce and English dominating for a lot less money, then yeah, maybe it is the right play. So everyone's different. Depends what you want to do with your team.
No, good call. The Tim English is only in 14% of teams. Bruce is in 11% of teams, and Gawn 41% of teams. Are you interested in bringing in Bruce as an R3 or R2, Clinton?
Not this week,
He scored
but
109 game one. Yeah.
I'm very interested next week. The decision for me at the moment is I literally have no donuts on my bench. A lot of rookies that are scoring okay, just okay. So I think I'm going to wait another week and see if there's anyone that stands out that needs to be traded or I could trade. So, for example, for me, Dylan Stevens is on my midfield bench. He only scored 23 last week. If he puts in another low score this week, if he stays in the team, which I think he should, that could be the easily trade out option for me to get Bruce in via Rochelle going into the midfield. So yeah, there's different ways to go about it, but everyone's different. Yeah, so if you have Gorn and Grundy, which a lot of people do, yeah, I'm looking at getting Bruce in as my R3.
Yeah, I'm considering it as well. Not this week, but obviously next week when his price is about to go up. I think at that stage, Hayes will probably be out of St Kilda's side, and it might be just a straight swap and an easy way to generate some cash without. And you've already made 100, and you probably would have made 120k off Hayes by that stage.
In saying that with Hayes, I know you just on paper, we'll have
Do
to
you
wait and
think
see what
he'll stay forward?
just we'll have to see what St Kilda do, but don't forget that Marshall and Ryder have durability concerns, and all it takes is one of those boys to be injured again, and Hayes is looking pretty solid. And who knows, come a month's time, yeah. So I wouldn't be rushing to get rid of Hayes yet.
No, fair enough. Let's go through some break evens, Clinton. So the player who's got the lowest break even for this round is only played 2 games is Nick Martin. He's got a break even of negative 124. So you'd hope he gets that. Canelio, negative.
It'd be pretty
Canelio
difficult to not get that.
scored negative 124. Yeah.
Yeah.
Canelio's negative 48. If you missed out on Canelio at already, Clinton, and he's now at 338k, would you
Delete
be
app.
doing everything?
You joked about it the other week, but if you don't have a Canelio, yeah, that's not a good
Just
start.
delete the game, you think?
Yeah.
It's probably good advice. The next one is McCreary. He didn't play last week, so he's still on 2 games and a break even of negative 48. Gollant, I believe how you pronounce it for Adelaide, he's on negative 48, and Bowie, negative 46. If you haven't jumped on Bowie, would you be doing that, Clinton?
Yeah, it's a tricky one now.
328k.
I'm glad you brought him up. I think we discussed him last weekend. I think you actually, I threw the question to you, trap, and
I said yes.
you said yes. I watched the game, and he is very impressive. He runs to the right places. He could have been used a lot more than what he actually was. Scored 89, and he's looking really solid. So depends. The biggest question I think is, do you have players that you need to get rid of? So um, that's almost the biggest question with all these players that we want to get in, but are you trading out the right person? So I'm not sure if there's a failed pick in the back line that would justify getting Bowie in now, but he's someone that I'm glad I've got now for sure.
Some players with a high break even, Clinton. If you had these players, would you consider getting them out of your side? Tom Mitchell, he's got a break even 176. He's 580k.
Yeah, I'll avoid talking Hawthorn players, but yeah, if you paid up for him at the start, it's definitely concerning.
I see Miller and McRae have got very high break evens there, Clinton.
I wouldn't be trading those boys out, although the bigger concern is McRae, and he has history in when he goes to the wing, he can struggle to find the footy at times. So, which is strange because sometimes he literally has the ball on a string, but then in the last quarter last week, he barely touched it at all. So, slight flag for him, and we'll see what happens this week. I would not be surprised though if he has 40 touches this week and gets back to his best. Even whatever the role is, he could play on the wing and I get the amount of, who had the marks. Angus Brayshaw. I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
that's Jack McRae this week.
Yeah.
Oh,
That takes us into our next segment, Clinton.
Yes.
It's a lot happening here. This bold predictions, and this is a new segment we're doing where we're putting in 3 bold predictions for the upcoming round. And I'd like you to kick off with your first bold prediction, Clinton.
Just before we begin, Blake, so I threw it to you that we'll have 2 players in our team, 1 player that is not in our team, and it's a score prediction, and we don't want to go. I personally, you can go low ball if you want, but I'm score minimum. So first one is Jake Bowie, and the people who chose not to bring him in last week may be regretting that because I think after watching him last week, I think he'll have a pretty solid outing this week versus Port Adelaide. And my bold prediction is that he will score at least 110.
That all. He scored 151 last week.
You just worry about your bold predictions. I think that's relatively bold that a defender at 328k is going to score 110 plus.
Cornelia, who's 338k, just scored 149.
Oh,
that's all right. Well, that's all right. If you want to stay low, that's fine. My bold
yours
prediction.
be very impressive.
I'm not going to say a score, Clinton, because this player, my bold prediction is that Lachie Whitfield is going to be the highest scoring defender for the round.
I'll accept that.
I like what I saw from him last week. He was moving around the ground very well in the passages of play that I saw. So Whitfield to be the top scorer in defence.
If it was to be a number though, what would that be? 140, 150?
You'd probably, high scoring defender, probably usually score about 140, I'd say. I'll see what it was last week.
Okay, good luck with that.
Scoring, or Hearn scored 156.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, Whitfield, high scoring defender.
Okay, my bold prediction number 2 is that Rochelle versus the Mighty Bombers will score 100 plus points.
I'll change my second prediction, Clinton. I'll change my second one. Because I was going to go Rochelle as well, but I was going to say 110.
Well, no, you stick with it. Stick with it. My third and final bold prediction, Blake, is that Tim Taranto. Now, he's a player that a lot of people avoided at the start of the season because of his likelihood of playing up forward, replacing Toby Green. And there's been parts to that, but he's been around the ball, from what I've seen, a fair bit. He's so far scored 119, 88, 112. I think he's the type of player that when Giants play well, he does. And they looked like they were back to their best on the weekend. So I'm expecting them to hit some form. And I'm predicting Taranto to score 130 plus this week and be a player that everyone starts to seriously consider in terms of players like that. Instead of old mate English, maybe Taranto is the player that we'll be trying to get in first.
Yeah, he's looked very good in the GWS games that I played. He's I mean, that I've been watching. Sorry,
You
I played
played
for GWS.
Yeah.
He's looked very impressive going forward and throughout the midfield. My third and final bold prediction is
The suspense is killing me.
got to remember it that Brayshaw for Fremantle will score under 60 points.
Oh, you flowballed him.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna go low. After a lot of people have brought him in, he's gonna go under 60 with the De Boer tag.
Okay. I won't play the low ball game, but if you want to wish upon that of a player, it's up to you.
Yeah, it's not on my team. I was gonna say that about Miller, but I wouldn't do that to you.
Well, yeah, I'm grateful because I need him to respond. But yeah, well, there's bold predictions. Let's see how many of the three we get next week, Blake.
You captained Miller last round, didn't you?
I did, yes. So I VC'd Petrarca. I was very excited to bring him in and VC him. I didn't have a loophole option NI.
Yeah.
Although I could have, if Petrarca scored 180, I could have potentially not traded in Cripps and kept Elijah Holland as that loophole. So there was that small possibility of that happening, but Petrarca only scored half of that. So
It worked out well for you getting in Cripps. Obviously, he's been everywhere.
yeah,
I was surprised he only scored 119. He got 30 disposals and 11 tackles.
back on Took, the signs early that he was getting a tag, he was still finding a bit of it. So I think that quarter time is roughly high 20s or 30. I just thought he'd still find a way to push through that and still score, still the 120. I thought at that time, but then I think it started to really get to him. And yeah, I think they just destroyed the Gold Coast spirit. I think when he wasn't playing his normal best, and so I think they'd learned from that, and I think maybe show him a bit of support instead of hanging him out to dry.
But in saying that, the opposition teams will just target him now. They saw how it broke Gold Coast, and they'll just target him every game now. I feel.
Yeah, well, I think across the board there was a few more tags happening this round, and I can't see that happening to twice in a row.
Even against Carlton's strong midfield that they've got going now, I wouldn't be surprised if they send someone like George Hewitt to him.
Okay, I'd still back Turkin.
Yeah. Were you happy with Rao's score of 103?
Yes.
Yeah.
He tackled his way to that. So at his price, hopefully he can continue to score like that. And I think after round one, there was talk about him being a season keeper. I think that's no longer the case. And in about a month's time, we'll start looking at which premium will go up. That's just my prediction. But if you can score roughly 100 for the next month, that'll be great. But I think I'll be by that stage looking to upgrade him. But we'll see.
Did you catch the Port Adelaide game, Clinton?
I didn't watch it all, but I saw parts of it. Yes.
Obviously, the most impressive part was Jordan Dawson's goal to win the game. Has he been in your considerations at all? 547k defender. He's averaging 106.
Yeah, the defense is a bit of a tricky one because currently in my team I don't have the likes of Crisp and Jaden Short's the main one. Jordan Ridley's scoring okay still, so I don't have a few of those types of players. But yeah, Dawson's a quality player. I think the biggest question is how will Adelaide go this year and how consistent Dawson can score. But in most team situations, though, I doubt you'd be upgrading to those types of players just yet. I think with the likes of players of whether it be Bowie, Hinge, and McCartan, for example, the players in my team, I think we'll be looking at those types of players that continue to go up in price and then yeah, as I said before, maybe in about a month's time we'll start looking at those options.
You'd be glad you didn't get on Aaron Hall 2 weeks ago, Clinton. Scored 70.
Well, yeah, I don't think the Kangaroos could be playing like that every week though. So, yeah, I was still watching the game. I think they just had a shocker. So, I expect Kangaroos to play better this week. And yeah, I think sometimes those games happen, but I expect Hall to. I think that's a score that we can now look at in the next 2 to 3 weeks when Hall's price remains relatively low, that we think we're grateful for that score and then we can jump on. So I think he's still the number one target for me in the back line. And that's over even Short, who I don't have, as I said, there's some names just there. I think Hall is still the player that I want in the back line.
I've got a who am I for you, Clinton.
Oh, yeah, this is a segment.
This might be I'll create a slide for it next week. The I've scored 100, 114, and 116. I'm priced at 492k, and I am the sixth highest scoring defender.
Stephen May.
The answer is Jack Sinclair for St Kilda.
Oh, Jack Sinclair.
Averaging 110, Clinton is still pretty cheap, and he only went up 23k last week. Have you thought at all about putting Jack Sinclair into your team?
I think I might have mentioned him last week in the fantasy discussion, and the answer is no. I think he's playing well, and yeah, I think he's having that midfield time at the moment. But I think if you're upgrading, I think there's other names you'd be targeting first.
Yeah, the likes of Dan Houston's scoring 106. Around that price, you'd still be able to just about select any defender you wanted.
I wouldn't target that price. I think if you're targeting players, you want to be knowing now that they're going to be a very, very good chance of being a top 6 defender. And I don't see those two players in that at the moment.
That's an interesting point, Clinton. At what stage do you reckon you pick up these fallen premiums? I know we're talking very early in the year, but traditionally in other seasons gone, at what stage would you pick up fallen premiums and for what reason?
Well, I guess when you see a bit of a spike in form, or see them knowing that you can see a potential turnaround in their form, and then also depending on what other options, I guess rookie players are coming through that we can sort of start going one up, one down. So I think there's still a few weeks away of allowing our rookies to go up in price, and then potentially, as I just said, looking at downgrades and upgrades. So the likes of, as I said, Bowie, Hinge, and McCartan, all depends on how they score over the next month. But potentially, we're looking at, or even if you've got someone like Gibkiss, he might be a bit more of a slower rise in money. But start looking at, seeing how they're scoring, looking at which potential rookies come along, for example, like Braden Bruce, who we sort of look like we may need, and then see how your team's shaping up and whether it be what line it is, back line, forward line, or in the mids. There's these options that will come that you can sort of watch and have confidence that their form is turning around. And as I said, like Aaron Hall, the score on the weekend will keep his price relatively low, and then in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, I think you'll start seeing his scores go back up, and maybe that's the right time before it gets out of hand, his price.
Yeah, really, that's where the break evens really come into play. At the moment, they might seem a bit irrelevant because they're in negative 124s like Nick Martin, but by the middle of the year, these break evens will be really important in seeing whether a player will go up or down, and whether that's a point where they'll change and start going back up to their premium status. Have you got any other players to discuss there before we get into our play and trades there, Clinton?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people are getting concerned by a few scores, whether it be, for example, Took or Zach Butters. But I think they're, yeah, obviously Butters' score was injury impacted, but he obviously pushed through that. Yeah, I'm expecting him to turn that around this week. If he should get up to play. And the likes of Tuke and McRae, I think it's one of those ones where we've enjoyed good scores for the first 2 weeks. You can't jump ship after just one poor score. So I think you need to have a lot of trust that these players will turn it around this week.
Yeah, so we're on to our trades that we're planning on doing, Clinton. You're loving the segment slides that I've presented
Yeah,
here.
you've gone to a lot of effort, Blake. It's fantastic. I'm sure all the thousands of people who are watching on YouTube are really grateful.
No, that's a work in progress, and I've been playing around with a few little things there. So it's a work in progress, Clinton. But hopefully, people who do watch the show enjoy it. So for mine, I had every player on my bench and everyone play on last weekend, so I had no looping options. But the player who I'm considering trading out this week is Sam DeConing, just because he is the lowest scoring player that I have, and I really want to get in Nick Martin for his cash generation at 102k, and like we mentioned, negative 124 break even, so he's going to go up a fair bit, pretty similar to what Hayes did. Hayes made us 85k already, so that at this moment is my only planned trade. If there is an injury or Neil happens to have a rest with that ankle injury or the likes of a COVID related out, I've got that trade to spare. So at the moment, only DeConing to Nick Martin. I see a lot of people are trading out Rochelle because he's got a break even of 42. That's only because he's had one bad score. If he very well could score 100 against Essendon this week, the form they've been in, which is a discussion for another time. But I would be holding Rochelle, even if he wasn't playing against Essendon this week. 42 is not a very high score to reach, and he's a very capable player, so I'll be holding on to him.
Yeah, I was going to mention that in my bold predictions, but yeah, he's been traded out by over 5,000 people already. So yes, that's quite amazing. So yeah, in terms of your Nick Martin, yeah, obviously he's a must-have. I guess DeConing, he's obviously on the bubble this week, so he's got a break even of -15. So ideally, in an ideal world, you'd be keeping him, but yeah, it all depends on for yourself team selection and yeah, if there's any issues that pop up. But Nick Martin is a must, so that has to happen. So it's whichever player you think is the play that needs to go. So as I said earlier, so with my trades, at this point in time, I'm not going to trade. I've got similar to you. I've got 30 players playing, and yeah, I don't think I need to make a push for anything yet. Obviously, I'm eyeing off Priest for next week, but there's no one in my team that is alarm bells or needs to be taken out, and there's no one that I'm really desperate to bring in. So just playing the long game, and at this point in time, no trades. Yeah, if there's other people out there who, for example, haven't got Martin, haven't got these particular players, obviously last week was the ideal time to get them in. But if it is someone that you definitely missed, for example, Bowie or someone like
Sherry.
Cherry, um, Will Brody, I'm not sure if it's probably too late to get
He's only
him now.
284k.
So yeah, if there's those types of players, I think there's an element of have you been too stubborn and you do need to bring them? I'm not sure. So, long story short, I'm not trading. So I think there's scenarios for other people that there's still, it's not too late to getting these other players in. But yeah, last week was the week to jump on those price rises.
Yeah, some other players that are going to go up in price this week. You've got DeConing, Hugh Dixon, who missed round 2. He's got a negative break even of 42. So there's a lot of cash generation out there. Yeah, and it's not too late for a lot of them. They've still got a lot of money to make. Who are your ruckman? You got Gawn and Grundy, don't you?
I do. I've got Hayes and Dixon also.
Yeah.
So there's, as I said earlier, there's a likelihood that who knows what could happen with injuries and low scores, but there's a potential chance that I could have Hayes, Dixon, and Bruce all on my bench hiding behind Gawn and Grundy. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, not forgetting that Bruce is obviously hasn't played a lot of footy over the last couple of years, so he's got through one game. I'll definitely wait and see how he goes this week. But if he scores well again, which I am predicting, he'll be traded in by the majority of super coaches next week.
There's no, with Bruce as well, there's no guarantee he's going to be that just solo ruck every week as well. They might look to bring Flynn back into the lineup and give him a chop out. So, and if that happens, his scoring will be heavily impacted. So you just got to be mindful of how a second ruck into a team could impact upon your player.
Just one more. I should have mentioned him before, Blake, but I mentioned Taranto, but another player at the Giants who's been very, very impressive is Tom Green. So there's been a lot of talk in the start of the year, the last couple of weeks, about Rail and Cripps, but yeah, I think Tom Green, I think we might have mentioned him last week, of how he's could be in for a bit of a Clayton Oliver breakout season, and to this point, it's happening. So I think with Hopper's injury, things have just fallen into place for him, and he's just really taken it. So there's every chance that, well, just quickly looking him up now, but he's only in 6% of teams. If you're going to get him, now's the week to get him. So it's just whether or not it's the smart long-term play, and if you can think he can be around the mark in terms of the top 10 to top 12 midfielders at the end of the season. So early signs are that he could possibly be, but with the amount of rotation around the Giants mids, that's the big concern. So Cornelio's playing forward a fair bit as well, but having stints in the midfield. So is Taranto. So it's hard to trust, but he's a player that I'm definitely, in an ideal world, would like to get in, but just can't squeeze him in.
He scored 164, 106, and 147. And the
Yeah.
main reason he scored 106 is because he was playing pretty much a quarter of that game in the ruck. I don't know if he caught that second game, but that's why he probably would have scored more that game, but somehow he was playing in the ruck for a quarter of the game. So now that you've mentioned him, I'm heavily considering him, but that would mean a sideways trade, which I've said at the start of the year I'm not going to do, Clinton, but it's very tempting at 502k.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm not sure how your money worked last week, but obviously Lipinski was a fair bit cheaper. But in an ideal world, somehow you would have made that trade work instead of who did I say? Not Lipinski, Caldwell.
Cool. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah,
No, it's 200k difference.
yeah. So yeah, that's he. I think will be making from what he was priced at. He'll be making more money over the course of next month than potentially Caldwell. I'm not sure, but yeah, he's playing really well.
It's a bit of a slap in the face when I've got two 620k plus midfielders sitting there and the scoring averaging 106. And in Steele and Bontempelli, and then you've got Tom Green running around averaging 139. So it's very tempting to make a 120k cash grab there. If he continues to outschool them for the rest of the season, I'd be very annoyed.
I'm not sure if we're up to the segment yet, Blake, but with our VC and captaincy options for this week, it's obviously really important. And I think the telling factor in terms of how people scored last week was the captaincy score. And as, for example, my three most expensive mids all scored under 100. And I think for a lot of people, it was very similar. So it was very interesting how Tuca only scored 76, and then people were celebrating that they had Lachie Neale captain, and then Lachie Neale got injured, but then he soldiered on for a very brave 105. So, I think this week's going to be very interesting also. I'm in a fortunate position that I've got Petrarca in now. I'm hoping he can respond and get a big score for me this week. So he's the VC that I'm looking at. And then, at this stage, I'll be backing in Tuke as a late captaincy. I think he plays Sunday, the last game of the round. Yeah, but as I said, the interesting part is the loop. And as it stands right now, I don't have a looping option. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, potentially, if Petrarca goes big, I'll be then praying that when teams will already be out, but I'll be, whether it be someone like, I don't think Hayes will be dropped, but whether it be someone like Hayes or De Koning, I'm not sure. I don't know, but
De Koning plays second game.
I don't think I'm going to be having a looping option. So we'll see. Yeah, Tom, come Thursday when teams come out, I'll have 5 players out with COVID. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you there, Clinton. At this stage, I don't have a looping option. I'll be going Clayton Oliver as my VC in that first Thursday night game, so 7:40 versus Port Adelaide. And then I don't have too many players that I actually trust to captain this week. Bontempelli hasn't scored above 108. Lachie Neale coming off that ankle injury. Jack Steele I don't trust after his first 2 rounds. So my captain at this stage is Patrick Cripps, who's averaging 137 and obviously is in Brownlow medal form, Clinton. So there's another slightly bold prediction for you, but he's one of the few players I can trust in my team at the moment to go big.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If he's scoring, what'd you say, 119, and
he's averaging 137.
Yeah. So no, there's a lot of good options. Lachie Neale, you'd think if that's his score with a injured ankle, and hopefully he's feeling better.
Backs up. Yeah,
we'll see how he goes this week. But I think last week just proved how important it is to get it right. So whether or not you have a loop option or not, the VC is always a good thing to have, and then try to make work. And then it's a nerve-wracking thing watching your captain play, because I know after Petrarca scored 98, then I was very, very big on Tuke. I was watching him like a hawk, and it's just quite frustrating when he's obviously getting double tagged, and it's not a good feeling when you're going into the second half of the game and he's not looking great. And there's other super coaches with Neale still to play. I thought my super coach season was going down the toilet already when I thought Neale was going to be going 180. So it's very important.
I'm glad I wasn't watching the Brisbane game, to be honest, or else I would have been a nervous wreck after seeing that ankle injury. But no, I pipped you in the head-to-head, Clinton, so that's all I'm worried about.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Just quickly, in our Patreon group on top of the leaderboard, we've got Jim's Jack Jumpers, who's got a pretty handy overall ranking of 1,800 there. Hailstorms in second, you're in third, I'm in fourth, and we've got the Green Machine in fifth. So that's our top 5 there for our Patreon group, Clinton.
Very good, very good. Yeah, long way to go. Just
Have you
trade
been
smart.
hearing from Hailstorm regarding that?
Not
Surprised
as
he
yet.
hasn't let you know about it.
Not as yet. But yeah, just enjoy Supercoach. If that means you want to use your trades, go for it. But it's a long season, so this is the week that I'd be recommending to be cautious and only trade plays out that you need to. So yeah, play it as you wish. But there's a lot of content providers out there. Everyone's recommending different stuff, but enjoy it for yourself and enjoy the games because I think it's been exciting so far.
That's great advice, Clinton. That'll wrap up our round 3 review and round 4 preview show. So thanks for joining us. Make sure if you are watching, leave a like and a comment and subscribe to the channel wherever you might be listening or watching the show. So thanks for joining us, Clinton, and good luck for round 4.
Good luck.